What's up, Cal fans? Welcome back to the California Golden Bearcast. I am your co-host, Andy. I am solo again today. We are doing another glorious episode of Friend of the Pod, and I still haven't come up with a better name than that. So we're just going to steal that from every other podcaster possible. We are, of course, a proud partner of the Blue Wire Podcast Network, and I am so excited to be joined by the one and only Kaylin Bing. Kaylin, welcome to the Bearcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. What an intro, the one and only. I don't know if I'm that famous to have that kind of intro, but thank you, Andy. I appreciate it.
Famous certainly to me. For those that don't work with us, we had this. Remind me, Kaylin, like how did we actually find out eventually that we both went to Cal?
Oh, that's a good question. It was it at SKO? I forget,
Yes.
maybe it was Veronica. It came up that Veronica's husband was Oski at one point, and then maybe you commented on something in Slack. I can't remember exactly, but it was one of these things where it was like, wait a second, you went to Cal? Like, how have we not talked about this yet? How have we not? I mean, we've had so many conversations in the office, and it's like, how have we never discussed the fact that we both went to Cal?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, I believe it's a pretty secret society of those that have been Oski before, so you might have just outed Rob.
Oh, oh my gosh, please redact that. I didn't just say that.
We will redact it.
Okay.
It was this amazing moment where I got this message from Kaylin. She said, I can't believe exactly what you said. And from there on out, we've been talking Cal Athletics almost on a weekly basis. And turns out that I have been sitting 2 rows away from someone that was one of the most decorated swimmers, I believe. We're about to find out in Oregon history, the state of Oregon, for a while. It sounds like maybe some records have been toppled, but former record holder.
Yeah. Also, like, let me just preface it with Oregon might not be the most elite swimming state, but I was fortunate enough to have a lot of success growing up from a very young age. Um, Big fish, small pond. Let's put it that way. And then when I went to Cal, it was a pretty big eye-opening experience. I realized small fish, very big pond.
I feel like the main ethos at Cal is you figure it out or you don't. You
Yes.
go from, I went
Yes.
from a high school of graduating class of must have been 115, and then go to
Yeah.
Cal, and you go to athlete orientation. You learn that you say "Go Bears" anytime someone says "Go Bears" to you, and
Yep.
they're like, "Good luck,"
Yep.
and you come back.
Yeah. That's so true. It's really like you get thrown in and you're just supposed to figure it out. Like we had these like almost like slogans each year, and it was kind of like the theme for the team every year. And my freshman year was figure it out. And I think it was in large part because like that senior class was so they were so thrown into this like figure it out mentality that they just expected everybody who came in after them to also figure it out. So it was a lot of like no bullshit, like you sink or swim, no pun intended, because obviously I was a swimmer. But yeah, like you either are excelling or not, maybe not even excelling, but you're like in it, you are a part of the team, you are a part of the activities, you are trying your best, or you're transferring or you're quitting. Like you figure it out or you get off the ship.
Wow. Well, let's
Yeah.
unpack that a little bit. I know you mentioned swimming. Tell me a little bit about your career as a swimmer growing up in Oregon. What was it like competing? I went to a Sharks game with a couple of swimmers from UC Davis, and they were like, I never want to swim again. I believe I asked you the same thing. I don't like to talk too much about my daughter on here, so everyone doesn't know exactly what's going on in my life, but she's
Right.
pretty tall and lives in
Okay.
La Marinda, so
Oh
I feel
yeah.
like the recruitment has begun at age 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, tell me
You're-
about your journey.
So I actually had a very untraditional path into swimming. I'm the youngest of four, and my parents were so wonderful with all of us. They took us to every sporting game, every practice, every social event, etc. And we did every sport under the sun. basketball, softball, volleyball, soccer, flag football, like you name it. We grew up in a super small town. We did everything. Most swimmers typically start like elite swimmers typically start like 4, 5, 6 years old, maybe. It's similar to like a gymnastics or a, I don't know, I guess like pee wee football, like super intense, start really young.
Yep.
My parents one day, so a little bit more backstory. My mom swam growing up, so she has a little bit of experience swimming. When I was a kid, she was an aquatic director at a swimming pool, so we spent every single day at a swimming pool in the water. We are total fish. My dad is from Southern California. He was a surfer, very comfortable in the water as well. Um, One day, my parents saw an ad in the newspaper. This was about when I was 11, and it was for the new swim coach in our like local town, and they were like, hey, you guys want to try swimming? You're already doing every other sport. And all of us were like, yeah, sure, why not, throw us in. So we tried out for the swim team at 11. I tried out at 11 and had no idea what I was doing, didn't know how to put on a swim cap, really like didn't know the difference between the strokes or anything like that. Tried out. The coach like put us in our certain group or whatever, and then we just kind of went into it. So that's how the Big family started in swimming. I was, like I said, I was fortunate enough to find success very, very early. Um, Not that my siblings didn't, but I think it clicked with me the fastest. And so I also just really enjoyed it. I took it very seriously. And again, my parents never forced sports on us. They never forced going to practice or going to meets or anything like that. They were in support the whole time, and I'm so, so grateful for that. Again, I took it the most seriously. It was a lot of like, hey, I'll take you to every meet and I'll drive you to every practice, but I'm not going to set your alarm. Like, if you guys want to go, you have to wake yourselves up, kind of thing. Um, and I never missed a practice, went to every single swim meet, broke a bunch of records, managed to somehow get on the radar of a lot of college coaches at a very young age, and took my talents to Cal. So,
Wow.
yeah.
I love the accountability of what your parents said there. It's like it's true support. I will get you where you need to be, but at the end of the day, it's on you. And I think
Totally.
like I could have used some of that in my.
Yeah. Well, and I also think, like, to your point, Andy, it really highlighted which one of my siblings, like myself from my siblings, like who was taking it seriously, like who actually wanted to do this. And like my siblings are all we're all very athletic. Um, Two of my three siblings swam at different levels. One swam in community college, one swam Division 3. I was the only one who swam Division 1, and it was because I was the one who was always going to practice. There were many mornings where our alarms would go off, and it'd be like, oh, are you going to practice? No, I'm going to sleep in this morning. Like, I'll go to Thursday's practice. And I was the only one who was going. So yeah, it was, and to each their own. That's what they wanted. I don't know. I guess I wanted to be elite. I was happy with what I was doing. I was happy with finding success. And so I just kept doing it.
I love that, striving for greatness, and also being, I think, pretty empathetic to the people around you and understanding that everyone's journey is their own. So hard to do that,
Hmm.
especially now.
Yeah, totally.
I really really respect that perspective that you had from from a very young age. Let's move into decision time. I
Mm,
imagine with your success that you had quite a few different offers, maybe even from the University of Oregon or some others that would be pretty tempting. Like, what was it about Cal that stood out?
yeah. Um, yeah, and I don't mean this in like a bragging or boastful way. I had a lot of offers. I know, and a lot
Now,
of
now
elite
is the
athletes
time.
do.
Now is the time to brag.
Okay, so then like to toot my own horn, I got my very first letter. Like, and also college recruiting is interesting because like you can't really recruit until junior year. You can communicate and like introduce yourself, but you can't actively recruit. At least back when I was being recruited, rules might have changed by now, but junior year was when you can like actually go visit on campus, do your recruiting trips, et cetera, et cetera. Um, or junior year is like unofficial recruiting trips. I think senior year is when you can do the official recruiting trips. But that being said, coaches and programs can start interacting with you as young as your sophomore year. So I got my very first letter. It was from UCLA, my sophomore year. And it was homeroom. I went to a big high school. There was a lot of really good athletes at my high school, and I just remember there was this one gentleman who was a very elite wrestler, and everybody knew him, and he just thought he was like so cool. And I get this letter like hand delivered to me in homeroom, and he like rips it out of my hands. He's like, "What is that? Let me see that." And I was like, "Yep, that's my first letter. That is UCLA swimming, like reaching out to your girl." But um yeah, it was hard because I actually was also very, very, very into basketball. I played basketball all throughout middle school. And then when I got to high school, I had to make a really tough decision because in Oregon, they're the same season. Basketball and swimming are the same season.
Mm.
And so right off the bat, I was very torn. I was like, do I try to do both? Do I swim? Do I only swim? Do I try basketball? It was just like a lot of things. And I had a lot of different, I had the high school basketball coach like breathing down my neck, like, no, 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 we'll make it work. We'll make it work. Ultimately, it came down to the more that I thought about it, my success in swimming was probably going to take me further than my success in basketball. Again, I come from a very small town, and once you mix in the girls who are like 6'4", 6'5", ones who are just beasts on the court, like I probably wasn't going to get a Division 1 scholarship. Whereas my success in swimming, I probably was going to get a Division 1 scholarship. And so I made that decision. And then as I progressed through high school, I knew I wanted to stay. I knew I wanted a very elite swimming program. That was something, the more that I was getting into swimming, I did not want to go to, for lack of a better term, like a mid-tier or a Division 3 or like a lower tier swimming program. I wanted to go to one of those schools that was in the running for a national championship. They might not win every year, but they were in the running for a national championship. I also wanted to go to a very good academic school. So that also helped narrow down kind of my process. My gut, and I knew this from the very beginning, wanted to stay West Coast. However, I didn't want to close myself off. So I took a recruiting trip to the University of Tennessee. I was highly considering University of Texas A&M and University of Texas. I almost took recruiting trips to those schools. And then I took a recruiting trip to University of Arizona, USC, Cal, just those four. You're allowed to take five. I took four. Um, Loved Tennessee, loved Arizona, loved USC. My dad went to SC. Like we've got a ton of legacy. Honestly, I thought I was going to go to USC. But to your question, and I'm kind of making this story a lot longer than it needs to be, it ultimately came down to the coaches. I knew I was, again, coming from a very, very small town, and it was going to be this huge transition. I was a big name for Oregon swimming, but also like when you get into the mix of like national swimming, like that's a huge transition. And so I wanted to go to a place where like I felt the coaches were going to support me and help me with this transition and make it so that I would continually find success. I felt like at some other schools there were competing priorities for the coach's attention and just other things going on. And I felt between Cal's swimming program and the success they'd had, the academic school alone and just the coaches and the team, it ultimately came down to Cal. So stayed in California, which was nice too. Easy to come home, which was a big factor as well.
Well, it's absolutely amazing that to go back, you had to make basically a business decision. That was really
Yeah.
hard for me too. I mean, I remember freshman, sophomore year, I played baseball, tennis, same season. And then when I went to Florida, I had to choose tennis full time. And when I wanted
Yeah.
to explore playing another sport, they strictly did not allow it.
Yeah.
And, which was fine because like my other sport was baseball and I wasn't very good.
Right. It was like, I mean, ultimately, looking back, like I was weighing kind of, okay, if I want this successful career, this athletic career that I think I want, like which one's going to take me further? And my logical brain was like, I have a far better, I'm in a far better position to be an elite swimmer rather than an elite basketball player. You
But
know,
like,
I just,
I think like it's a very hard decision to make at that time in your life
yes.
because joy and the love of a sport, and I can see it in the way that you talk about basketball. It's like the same thing for me to have to lock in on one. And
Yeah.
also, it does remove some of the joy from that sport because you have
Yeah.
to lock in on it, and it has to be that, and it can't be anything else.
Right.
And
Right.
I know it's like a big topic in of the Olympic community where other countries will say, you know, especially in the tennis community where it's like, it's you have some parents that are like, it's tennis, it's only tennis, and
Right.
that's it. I mean, Richard Williams was like, he was adamant that his daughters were going to play tennis, you know, and,
Yeah.
you know, very controversially, but
Yeah.
okay. Very cool. So now you arrived at campus. I'd love to hear like the swim team. I know the swim team from like the Natalie Coughlin days. Like
Yeah.
she was really the one that I remember being like, we're dope.
Totally. I mean, she put cow swimming on the map. Like,
Exactly.
yeah, cow
So-
swimming was not the caliber of program that it was before Natalie went there.
So when you arrive on campus and through your 4 years, what were some of the highlights for you? And like, what were, you don't have to talk about lowlights, but I would just be very curious, you know, reliving some of those ups and downs, especially
Yeah.
as a, you know, as you come in as a freshman, as you said, it's definitely a change of scenery.
That's a nice way to put it. My girlfriends who I like started with my freshman year, they all call me the sophomore transfer because I was so homesick and so shy. And I also think like that's something to note too. Like freshman year is so difficult for anyone, normal students too. Like this is not an easy transition. And then throw in the fact that I am totally getting my ass kicked in practice every day, and I'm working out more than I ever did before, and I'm surrounded by girls who are 10 times better than me, and I'm away from my family and in a totally different state. Oh, and also having to go to class and pass my classes. So yeah, freshman year was rough. They, like I said, they still call me sophomore transfer, which is hilarious. But I also think like that's one of the highlights too. Like I can't imagine going to school and not immediately having like a group of people, right? I mentioned earlier, like I was incredibly shy when I was younger, incredibly quiet. I was not this extroverted, outgoing, like want to go out and party and have your stereotypical like college experience. And so the fact that like I kind of walked into this group of almost 20, 25 girls who were friends or were going to be friends with me was definitely a high. Like, could not be more grateful for it. And again, I honestly don't know how I would have done college if I was, we called them, did you call normal people NARPs when you were there?
No.
Okay, this must be like, and I don't even know if they still use this term. This might not be PC. I probably shouldn't say this. But when I was there, the athlete community called normal people who like were just students, we called them NARPs, non-athletic regular person. And it was just
I don't know. Well, so I mean, I'm not going to talk about myself very much, but I will say when
Yeah.
to your point about freshman year, I almost asked you about. I was actually quite curious because my freshman year, I showed up to campus and found out I would not be playing tennis, and that was pretty much an assumption of mine. Like I knew it.
Right.
There was like a very small chance, but I think that adjustment period of do I transfer, do I not,
Right.
and having that conversation with coach and having other people in my ear saying you got to do this, and then
Right.
I was sort of like, no, I just want to be at Cal. I've been saying go Bears since I was 2 years old. Like
Yeah.
to get here and then leave just doesn't feel like the right decision.
Right.
But so that could have been a term that I wasn't exposed to because I was one of them, right
You were
here in the flesh.
You were. That's funny. Well, we don't mean it in like a mean, malicious way. It
I
was
was going to
just, I don't
say,
know.
I
It's
view
just, no, no, no,
myself
no.
as an athlete.
Totally. And there were like and like also like club athletes too. Like there were so many people who were still like athletic people. I think it was just our way of like being like, oh, this person's on a team, this person's not on a team.
I also get it
or
because it's like there is some part of it too when you're going like when you think about the schedule and everything that you're
oh
adding
my
to your
gosh.
plate, and you look at somebody else. What am I? I'm trying to. The messed up way to compare it is, and Kaylin, I mean this in the best way possible, but it's like now being a parent, I reflect on myself as a non-parent and
Yeah.
how I would treat other parents, and I think I would be like empathetic to what they're going through, and now I'm like,
Right.
oh, I had no idea, you know what I
Right.
mean? And I think
Right.
that's like some of the respect you want as an athlete because you are literally doing a full-time very hard
Yeah.
job on top of taking, as we said, it's pretty unrelenting class load at Cal that
Yeah.
and no one is there. The resourcing center for athletes is great. I took advantage of that, and that saved me. But if it wasn't for that, like I was having a really hard time when I was working for
Oh,
a
yeah.
football team maintaining that schedule.
Yeah, it's brutal. I mean, I used to have teacher like so we would be and I'm not exaggerating when I say we would be physically in the water at 6 a.m. on the dot. Like if your body was not submerged in water at 6 a.m., like you were late. So we'd have to be early. I mean, our coach kind of like instilled this like early mentality. I'm still very punctual today. I'm at least 10 minutes early to everything. So we're getting into the locker room by, I don't know, 5:35, 5:40, 5:45 at the latest. 2 hours of practice. You can have 8 a.m. classes. But I used to have professors who would come in and they'd come in with their like huge, huge, huge coffee and they'd sit it down. They're like, oh, I'm so sorry. It's so early. And I'm like, I've already done a 2 hour practice. Please don't say that again. But yeah, they just have no idea. Or like, especially during the semesters, like Christmas break, when people get almost a month off. I mean, we were getting 8 days off, and it's like the grayest, rainiest, coldest, most miserable time of the year in Berkeley for people who like are familiar with. I mean, it might not even be that bad anymore, just with global warming and whatnot. But like this was like moody, and we're getting our butts kicked. It's like our hardest training season. We're the only ones on campus. Us and rowing are the only ones on campus. So the schedule alone is like insane, absolutely insane. But where was I going with this? What was your question? I'm so sorry. I was on my tangent of like what our schedule is like.
No, it's we were just talking about I think like the transition of balancing it all and
Oh,
how much you're
yeah.
adding to your plate and all like that's exactly it. I mean, that's such a good example, and I think we're tying it back to this concept of how different the athlete experience is. I certainly remember there was a lot of controversies around athletes, especially at that time when my gosh, what is it called? Affirmative action was in play, and
Oh, yeah.
and so I took a class with a professor that was saying that because of affirmative action, everyone just looked at black students because they got in because of it, and then once they got rid of it, then they just assumed like I know a lot of my friends that were athletes or non-athletes that happen to be from underrepresented backgrounds would say that they get asked all the time, are you an athlete, with the assumption that they got
Right.
into Cal because of their athletic background, not
Oh,
because of
totally.
their merit.
Right.
And
I
so
mean,
it's-
even I get that. And like, I don't have the same problems that those individuals have. Like, I still get people who are like, oh, did you get in because of a scholarship? Like, were you on a scholarship? It's like, whether I got in on a scholarship or not, I still passed all my classes and I still have a degree from Berkeley.
Yeah.
So like, I think I held my own. Thank you very much.
Amazing answer. Amazing
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. I took away from I want to hear some highs, like just from and also your journey from maybe like freshman to senior. Like, what did that look
Yeah.
like? How hard was it you mentioned as a freshman looking up at those that are bigger, stronger, faster? I got to imagine as someone who held the record, that's one of the biggest challenges. You're on top of the world. Nobody's better than me. And now all of a sudden you look up, everybody's better than you, or maybe not that extreme, but how did that challenge you? And were there any highs along the way?
Yeah. So my freshman year, like I said, was insanely tough, not just for like the transition, but I also just the training. I'm also the type of person who goes into things kind of cautiously. Like I like to kind of feel it out, observe a little bit, and then once I feel comfortable, I'll jump into the deep end. Again, too many swimming puns. But so I was very, very, very timid my freshman year, and the training was completely different. My coaches did a lot of really unique things I was not used to, and I was back of the lane. I'm trying to keep up as best as I can. And it got to a point where, and my coach was like, they were so understanding for so long, but it got to a point where like my hesitation was almost crippling. Like I was not swimming well my freshman year. And it took them kind of like some tough love, excuse my language, but like shit or get off the pot, Kaylin. Like you're either in this or like you're not in this, for me to not be so hesitant with everything I did, with every action I did, with every practice I participated in. So that being said, fast forward to the end of my freshman season, we win NC2As, which is huge. I mean, that was definitely a high. Like we won my freshman year, we won my senior year, so I kind of got to start and end with a national championship, which was huge. But it really took this kind of push of like, hey, you either stop questioning everything that you're doing and just do it, or maybe like look at other options kind of conversation. And then after that, like my sophomore year, I started to loosen up again. Like I was going out with my girlfriends, like we were having a good time. I was far more invested in the team and the space and everything. My junior year was when it really, really, really clicked. Like swam the best I've ever swam. And I was also fortunate where each year I got faster. That doesn't always happen with swimmers. But my junior year, I just remember like not only was I swimming really well, I was having the most fun. I think I just like, I don't want to say I didn't give a shit because that's not it at all. I like very, very, very much cared about Cal swimming and how I competed. But I think I just let myself swim. Like I didn't overthink it. I didn't overthink practices. I didn't overthink like, oh my God, what happens if I swim slow? Or like the relay loses because of me or whatever. I just purely went in with this like mentality of like, whatever happens, happens. I'm going to swim and like, it's going to be okay. Like the outcome is going to be whatever it is. And it really, really paid off. Like it was so much fun. And then by senior year, like you're a senior. So it's like you made it, like you made it to your fourth year. Like you didn't transfer, you didn't quit. Like you made it through this incredibly, incredibly tough program. And I think like a lot of the highs are just kind of those experiences of like, I made it. I'm still with the vast majority of like like we started with 9 girls. We ended with 8, which was also super unique too. Like most incoming classes, by the time that they're seniors, they almost cut in half, depending on the year and program and other factors and stuff like that. But yeah, so a lot of the highs come from not necessarily like swimming or times or medals or anything like that, but like the mornings we would get out of practice and we'd all go to the dining halls and we're like dying. We're so tired and we're like, I don't know, we were making fun of so and so for doing whatever lap wrong or something. It's just like those are the kinds of stuff that I still remember. I don't remember any of the times or the sets or anything like that. I mean, I have the ring, so I obviously remember the national championships, but
I was gonna say you have 2 national championships to your name.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
pretty incredible. But I love that at the end of the day, you just remember the relationships, you remember the people, you remember how you felt with friends, and that's the experience for me with Cal. I'll tell anyone, I just feel like I found my people there, and
Totally.
I'm
Totally.
to this day just so close.
Oh yeah. Like there's girls who will be like in my wedding. There's girls who like we're going to their weddings. Like we're doing it's because it's 10 years for my group of girlfriends this year. Like we're doing a trip together. Like we still keep in touch for the most part and stuff. And yeah, I mean it's cow swimming all brought us together and it's awesome. It's one of the best parts.
Is it your 10-year national title anniversary?
No, it's our 10. Well, I guess technically yes and no because we
Okay.
won our freshman year and we won our senior year. It's our 10-year graduation anniversary.
Okay. Very cool.
So I'm secretly giving away my age.
Yes, you are. Especially now, drawing more attention to it.
Yep, totally.
What about any other like highlights? I can't imagine football there were that many highlights, but I'm trying to think. I think like golf's best year was probably right around the same time. But yeah, any other highlights from the Cal experience that really stood out to you while you were there? Maybe ones that I'm forgetting or not remembering.
I mean, I think like we had some really unique experiences as student athletes. Like there were a couple of times, and I'm sure you remember this too, like before the big game where we would do the big pep rallies and stuff. There were a few years where like we did it in at the Greek Theater and there was like the big bonfire. The swim team specifically like got to go up on the stage and I forget exactly what we were doing, but we got to go up on the stage. Um, Also like the years that we won the national championships, like they do a lot of really fun experiences for the individuals and the teams that win the national championships. So like at one point we got to be presented like on the field during national championship week, which was kind of surreal, like up on the big screen we're all
Yeah.
waving,
Yeah.
like those pictures still pop up on like my social media flashbacks and stuff, which are fun. The big banners, like we got to be on the big banners. My mom actually has the one that I got to be on. The girls who were on the banner with me were all in different states. I was the only one who was like still in California, so I ended up getting to like take this one home. And of course, I was like, my mom would love this. It's like hanging up. My siblings make fun of me. They're like, "Mom built a shrine out of you," and it's like, no, not even close. I'm just the only one who has this like cool banner. Um, but yeah, so I think, and honestly, like taking athletics out of it, Andy, I think like one of the coolest experiences for me, again, coming from like a very, very small town in rural Oregon, was just the liveliness of Sproul, like whether it be before games, on like game days and the big pep rallies and stuff, or whether it be like the actual protests. Like I had never experienced anything like it, and just to purely observe and see so many people coming together for whatever reasons, was fascinating to me. Like I just thought it was so interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I still remember to this day in my African American Studies course, my professor runs in, he's like sweating. I'm like, where
Yeah.
has this guy been? And he goes, "I'm so sorry, class. I just can't miss a good protest."
Right?
And he had been
Right?
out there on the megaphone, and he just was like, "Oh, they did such a
Yeah.
good job." He's so
Yeah.
proud. Yeah, it's
Like there were a
amazing.
few, and there were even like a few like night protests, and I remember like the helicopters and like the news crews and everything. Like, I mean, the Berkeley stereotypes of like people like being up in trees, like protesting, or like laying down on the ground, like protest, like those are real. And some people find them crazy. I thought they were so fascinating, um, purely from an observer's perspective, and it was just really interesting to see like what people are so passionate about.
Yeah, and also the art of doing it in a way. And yeah, I mean, I think now more than ever, it's been really relevant for
Yeah.
yeah, as the landscape evolves. But we don't have to talk about that. I have
Yeah,
one
yeah, yeah.
final question that I want to. I'm going to put you on the spot, but I
Please.
remember the riverboat Ron story. It just popped up in my head that we were talking about. Can you, the new general manager,
Yes.
he's kind of
I know.
the sheriff is back in town.
He's back.
What was that amazing story with you and Ron and his wife?
Yeah. Could not be more stoked that Ron is back in Bear territory, that he's working with the football program. Like, just so awesome. So stoked. So every year, the group that made it to NC2As, leading the week leading up to it, like our coaches would do a lot of like really exciting things. We would have a different training schedule. We would get like some new gear for the meet, etc. And they always plan this like surprise, for lack of a better term, like motivational speaker, excuse me. And it was almost always a coach on campus. So like one year we got to speak with, or Jack Clark, the men's rugby coach, came to speak to us. One year it was I think it was the women's tennis coach. Don't quote me on this. And then one year was the women's basketball coach. This is when Lindsay, I think she got married. Yeah, Gottlieb.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's still is that still her last name?
I can't remember.
Yeah, she might have gotten married.
You
Don't
put
quote
me on
that.
the spot.
Yeah. See, I'm turning the tables on you. But anyways, so they were really cool. They were these like really cool experiences, super motivational, super awesome people all together. My senior year, the meet was in Greensboro, North Carolina, and we fly in. We fly in early so that we can acclimate to the time. We train there for a few days. We get ready the night before the meet is supposed to start, and we still have not had our like motivational speaker. So all of us were like, "Oh, maybe we're not doing it this year." The night before the meet starts, we're having a team dinner at the hotel, and Ron Rivera and his wife walk in, and somehow, some way, I don't know how this even got connected, but our coaches were able to get them. He was the coach of the Carolina Panthers at the time. They were able to invite him to like come and speak to us and be our like motivational speaker for this meet. It was so incredibly fun. They are the nicest people in the whole wide world. And like they also met at Cal. Their story is just so heartwarming and so endearing. But it was really, really, really cool to get to meet. And I'm a football fan, so like I knew exactly who he was even before. And so to have this man not only in front of us as the coach of the Carolina Panthers, but also as a Cal alum, and speaking to like his experience and his amateur and professional career as a football player, and then now as a coach, was really, really fun to hear and interesting to hear. And again, like just the nicest people. Like I will forever be fans of that family. And they probably don't even remember doing this, but it was a lasting impression on me for sure.
That is such a cool story. I love that. For those that don't know, Charlotte and Greensboro are not close. I just drove that. That is not, they're not close to one another.
No.
And to do that with that position, and I promise you, Kaylin, he probably does remember who you are. And I always feel like it's always the people that I say, oh, they'll never remember. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, they always do. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, in the last minute or so, I always like to steal from Hot Ones. Is there anything that you want to, promote, highlight, talk about that you have going on in your life? No pressure, by the way, but just anyone or anything you want to shout out?
I guess I can shout out my wonderful significant other. We recently got engaged, so we're in like the thick of wedding planning. We're getting married next year, so we have pinned down a date and a venue. But yeah, he played rugby at Chico State. He loves to tell me that he could like beat me in a swimming race, even to this day. He also loves to tell me that I got into Cal on a swimming scholarship. All of these are jokes, obviously, for people listening. But he's wonderful, and he appreciates the experience as much as I do. So he needs a shout out for sure. Shout out to Jack Hazelhofer.
I love that. The competitive spirit runs well in your family.
It does. Everything is competitive. Thank you.
Let's get you both out to a Cal game. Let him know that he's going to have to convert. And thank you so much, Kaylin. This was awesome.
So fun. Thanks for having me, Andy. I appreciate it.
Go Bears.
Go Bears.